Hi, my name is Brandon, and I'm an alcoholic and addict in recovery. When I first started drinking and using drugs, one of the things that I really liked about them was that they helped me feel like I fit in. I could go to a party and start drinking, and I really felt like I became part of the crowd. I felt like I could talk to anybody, and I felt like I was doing what everybody else was doing. And for really the first time in my life, I felt comfortable. And so when I started looking at giving up alcohol and giving up drugs, I wondered, how am I ever going to fit in? And Annie Grace does a great job of exploring this topic in This Naked Mind. And she starts by giving a great summary about why we think it will be so hard to fit in without alcohol and drugs. And here's what she says. You observe everyone drinking all the time. In fact, at almost every occasion, from grade school fundraisers to wine and women church groups, and even the finish lines of marathons, you experience all manners of conversations about alcohol at work, after work, at home, on the weekends, and in the media. You assume our culture is so intertwined with alcohol that living a life without it will be next to impossible. You conclude that our culture dictates, even mandates drinking, and you will find it too difficult and lonely to live without drinking. And that's definitely the way I felt. I didn't, especially with the life I was living, alcohol was so intertwined with my life that I couldn't imagine how I would live a happy existence without it. How was I going to go out for drinks with people after work when I'm not drinking? I didn't understand how that would work or what that would look like. I didn't understand how I would be able to relax on the weekend after a long week of work. How am I going to relax on a Friday evening if I don't have alcohol to help me do it? So these are the kind of things that were going through my mind and kept me drinking for a lot longer than I really wanted to be. I was ready to give up alcohol a lot earlier than I actually did, but concerns about how I would fit in and what would happen after kept me drinking. So one of the things that she points out is that when we are worried about what other people are going to think and what other people are going to say, a lot of times those who defend alcohol, those who say alcohol is perfectly harmless and just a part of life, are often also worried about how much they drink. So you will be surprised that when you decide to stop drinking or stop doing drugs, there are probably other people in your circle who will approach you and say, hey, I've been worried about this same thing, and even potentially express interest in figuring out how you did it. So don't try not to worry as much about what other people will think, because chances are, if you are thinking you'd like to stop drinking or stop using drugs or would like to cut back, there's other people close to you who have the exact same thoughts. They're just scared to express them. Then another point that she brings up is that a lot of times we think that the people who drink are cool people. They're the people who get it in life. And that people who don't drink are kind of lame and they're not really that much fun at parties. And I love what she says about this. She says, it is common to hear people say, I don't trust someone who doesn't drink. The truth is that the cool people are cool if they drink or if they don't drink. The funny people are funny whether they drink or don't drink, and the lame people are lame whether they drink or they don't drink. And this is 100% true. I can tell you from experience that alcohol does not change your personality. It may change the way, it may affect the way you act, But some of the funniest people I've met have been completely stone cold sober, and some of the lamest people I've met are active alcoholics. And it's not that they're funny because they're sober or they're lame because they're alcoholics. It's that that's just the person that they are. So the idea that cool people do this and uncool people do that is doesn't really stand up. And in fact, what I would say is that once I started getting a little older, I realized that what I thought was cool was changing. And what I really thought was cool was people who were figuring out how to grow and become better on a regular basis. And people who were focused on how do I become a better version of myself on a consistent basis, because I wasn't doing that. I had kind of gotten to this point in life and said, here I am, this is how I'm going to be, and that's it. And I started to see all these other people who were growing and figuring out how to be better versions of themselves. And I thought, now that's pretty cool. But I couldn't figure out how to do it with alcohol and drugs in my life. And it wasn't until I got rid of them that I was able to embrace a life of self-betterment, self-empowerment, and really get to a point where I could look at myself every day and say, okay, today was fine. What can you do better tomorrow? The last thing that she brings up is making friends, and whether or not you keep your old friends, how you're going to make new friends. I can tell you this. I have kept almost all of my old friends in recovery. I was the person in my little group of people who really had a big problem that needed to be addressed. Most of the other people that I hung out with their drinking or drug use was pretty normal, for lack of a better word. And so I really felt like I was the odd person out, and actually had gotten to a point where I felt like I needed to do something about my problem in order to fit in with the people that I was hanging out with. That being said, I've also made all these new friends in the recovery community, and that's why fellowship with other people in recovery is so important, because it is a good way to make new friends. And then with people outside the recovery community, I found it so much easier to make other new friends because I'm more comfortable talking to people and I actually care about other people's lives. I didn't really care about other people's lives as much about finding out about other people. I didn't care about that stuff that much when I was in my addiction. But now I'm really interested in finding out what other people, what their lives are like, what they live for, what's important to them. And that's what helps me make new friends in recovery. So for all of these reasons, I found that my worries about being able to fit in were completely unfounded. And in recovery, I actually can fit in more crowds, more often, and more consistently than I ever could in my addiction. And that makes life way more worth living. And it makes things so much happier. That's it for today. I'll be back tomorrow with more. Have a good one.